Hello. So today's little vid is going to be about collectibles. You know, the funny little things that you can get from that are part of a series that you then have, so you feel you actually have a token, a souvenir from a favorite series that you've watched. You'll see them all the time with kids television or proper live action stuff when they release all the merchandise for them. And they can be great. I mean, there's stuff that I want that is collectibles. I want the different Green Lantern Corps rings eventually. I want the Coyote Hitman Reborn Vongola rings. I want T-shirts, jumpers. I want this, that, and the other. I want some proper nerdy merchandise to make my own. But I feel that sometimes there comes a time when too much emphasis can be put on collectibles, that it demeans or even trivializes the shows that they're about. And today I'm going to be looking at what I see as the rise of collectibles within Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. I've had a research into it, and I really saw it beginning back in back before actually before decade, sorry, in Kamen Rider and Gokaiger in Super Sentai, which were the anniversary series respectively for both of their franchises. I've had a look into it, and I think the first sign we saw of some collectibles really was for Kamen Rider was in Kiva, where you had the Fusiliers, the little power-up things that summoned additional forms, and in Goonja with the little soul battery things that they had, the set souls which activated the vehicles. I think that was the proper first collectibles we had for both of the respective series, and they were actually about the same time that they brought them out. I think they saw how well that did, but then you had Decade came out for Kamen Rider in the next series after Kiva, which was the anniversary, and they did the Kamen Rider cards. So they did the rider cards, they did the power-up cards, they did the weapon cards, etc. And those sold really well, and people loved them to pieces. And from there, really, I think that's what kind of triggered in the mind of Toei, the company that makes Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, that if they focused more on some collectibles per season, it would really sell really well. You had toys and you had merchandise released per season beforehand, but this is when you started to really see proper little collectibles coming out per season. And Shinkenger, which was made around the same time as Decay, they had the hidden discs. They were collectibles, but not to the extent that you were. They were certain. There was only about 12 or so proper hidden discs within the season, and they released some extra ones in the merchandising. Then Goseiger, the angelic card playing series for Super Sentai, came out, and they did cards as well. I think that they saw how really well they did with Goseiger. Then, so looking at it, let's look at it at Kamen Rider then and see the rise of collectibles in them, and then I'm going to look over at Super Sentai. In Kamen Rider, we had we had Double, which was the next series, which was the collectibles with the Gaia Memory UBS sticks. O's was the different beast medallions that you had for the different sets. Then you had Foes, and at this point I think it was starting to go a bit too much, because you had plus 50 of these little astro switches, the cosmic switches you can get, and really I think it was starting to get a bit too much with the sheer number of collectibles just in this little collectibles range. And now you've had Wizard with the little magic rings you can get. One sec, let me just do that. Go back to video. Sorry, little glitch there. Now going over to Super Sentai, you've now had the Ranger keys in the anniversary series, Gokaiger, which sold really well. Then there was a little bit of a gap with Go Busters. They did have the merchandise still per season, the weapons, the power-ups, etc. But they didn't actually have their own collectibles. Now there's a reason for this. At the time, Gokaiger was still going very well. It was still going very well at home and internationally. So they wanted to sell the Ranger keys. So they needed to not let something interfere with that, if that makes sense. They needed to let a series go by which didn't have a collectible so they could keep selling the Ranger keys. I think as well, to be honest, they seem to cut back quite a bit on the budget for Go Busters because they just had a big one with all the guest stars coming in for Kaija, so they probably didn't have so much big budget, so they couldn't really do a lot of collectibles anyway. But then they brought back with Koi Ranger with the Beast batteries, and again there's multiple Beast batteries, there's loads of Beast batteries, and they're really competing well against the Wizard rings. And I think they think there's enough room for 2 sets of collectibles at a time for the seasons per year, but I'm feeling it's starting to get a bit overboard on the whole collectibles bit. If you look back prior Go-Onja and Kiva, Deno, which was the season before Kiva, really didn't have any collectibles, but had a great story. Geki Ranger, I felt, had a brilliant story as well. That was season before Go-Onja. They didn't have collectibles either. And what I think is the worry is the emphasis that they're starting to put, that Toei is starting to put on having collectibles per season. I mean, the Beast batteries, they kind of make sense in story for Koi Ranger, but they seem really silly. They really seem silly to me when I first heard about them. And they seem to be a bit detrimental. I mean, you need to charge up these Beast batteries in order to use them in battle. It makes sense, but at the same time, it's kind of stupid. And it just then causes such reliance on them in the story for the Koi Rangers to use. Again, the Wizard rings, it makes sense, but it seems to be that you can't really use magic if you're a rider unless you have all these rings, whereas the Phantoms, the enemy, don't need these rings, and certain other characters in the series don't need to use rings, it looks like, in order to use magic. So I feel there's a bit... It's the MacGuffin type plot that's pushing the story, and it seems that Toei is now focusing on series that use that, and you didn't see that in the past. I mean, you saw the best quality seasons in Super Sentai. Let's see, to my mind, like Magic Ranger, Deca Ranger, they didn't need collectibles, they didn't have collectibles. Look at Kamen Rider, you had, let's see, Deno, you had Kiva, you had Kabuto, no collectibles at all. It seems that they're really pushing nowadays with the kids market and with the collectors market by releasing constantly all these extra merchandising just to make more profit, but at the detriment, I feel, perhaps, that would be putting on the story if they keep having series that needs to focus on collectibles, because you're going to have to keep having series and coming up with ideas of how to have these mini collectible things in the series. And I mean, they've done cards, they've done rings, they've done UBS sticks and stuff. Will they be able to keep making up more ideas? What got me thinking all about this was the rumours for the new Kamen Rider that's coming out 2013 to 2014, Kamen Rider Break. He's going to be a breakdancing Kamen Rider apparently, but his power-up in his collectibles will be mini-discs he puts into his driver in order to activate powers and forms, and you didn't need that in the past Kamen Riders. Why do you need to focus on having collectibles now? Just for sales purposes, but forcing that into the story in order to make the story work. I really do feel there's a bit of a threat here now to Kamen Rider and Super Sentai series by focusing way too much on the collectibles, but they're in a bit of a bind now. They like the profits they're getting from the collectibles, so they have to keep making collectibles in order to keep their sales. So what's going to happen? I mean, they might go 1 or 2 series without having collectibles in order to make them seem more of a thing when they bring them back. I think that should be perhaps what they should do. If they really want to keep making the profits and bring out collectibles, try and make it more of an exclusive thing the next Super Sentai series don't have collectibles, the next Kamen Rider don't have collectibles. Again, I like collectibles, and I will probably end up getting 1 or 2 wizard rings, or I don't know. I like the Gokaiger Ranger keys, and I do like the O's medals. But at the end of the day, when you bring out too much, and when it's too integral to the story, to the point where you're kind of forcing ideas in, in order to make the story work. I just have a bit of a fear about that, and I wonder whether it will be an issue in the future. But hey, maybe I'm just talking gibberish at the second. And like I said, I like some of the collectibles. I'm just afraid that, again, there's too much emphasis. There could be too much emphasis on future series in order to make it work. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think that the collectibles have gone out of control? Do you think there's still more room to make use of collectibles in future Super Sentai and Kamen Rider series? Or do you think there's another series that's putting too much emphasis on collectibles at the end of the day? Another live action production, or even an animated production that uses a lot of collectibles? Okay, I'll wrap that video to a close, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.